almost
You can almost
see the remains of his
Yeah.
beard. Yeah.
He's actually like, because you can see like he's just about to pick up his net and head back out to the lot for us and grab his surplus. Thank you, Johnny. We'll catch up with you in a second. Matt,
You have a game today, by the way. Yeah.
yeah, look, okay, yes. I think loosely speaking, we have a game today. Of course, I think a lot of people are not expecting to see all that close a match between these two rosters now. The one argument people have sort of made in Dallas's case is that, well, wait a minute, Reinhardt's not available, Tracer, Sombra not available. These are a multitude of different heroes that Dallas really lent on, but as we've seen in the APAC region, Echo Reaper with double shield, or just sometimes Winston D.Va seems to be the go, and you have to think that Dallas is going to be more than comfortable, sort of, regardless of what London throw comp-wise.
I almost feel like you're just making an argument there just to make an argument. It's not even really one you can back up really strongly. Obviously, you know, they don't have a hit scan player, Dallas. We don't know if we'll see Pine today, but even with that, they got by in the May Melee without a McCree, where McCree was like one of the most played heroes. So I think when you kind of look at the roster and you start to, you know, nitpick a little bit, especially going into this match against London, I think you're just looking for holes in a Dallas team that's been pretty solid thus far. This is the London Spitfire starting lineup. We get Shaxx and Blase in the DPS roles today.
Yeah, Blase actually will be going up against a teammate on the side of Dallas Fuels. Jexa and him served on that ill-fated Houston Outlaws roster from last year. With the London Spitfire, we've seen some signs of brilliance from this roster on occasion. Again, this is a meta, I'd say, that they just haven't shone in. You know, we wondered had they'd fare against, you know, teams that leaned on double shield, but we got the answer to that question, right? They struggled against the Atlanta Reign. Prior to that, we saw them go up against a team that, well, didn't want to play double shield. They also had problems with that. A lot of data available to us for the London Spitfire right now, and they themselves look like they're trying to carve out their own identity. Their opponents, however, have a pretty good idea by now of who they are. The Dallas Fuel, of course, reigning May Melee champions. No, we don't know what they're going to be playing right now, but again, their hero pool lines up really well with what we're seeing teams like Chengdu get a lot of success with, even the Fusion to some degree over in APAC in terms of some of these compositions. Do we expect to see Wrecking Ball? No. There might be some double shield here. We know Hanbin is an incredibly good Sigma, but Matt, I don't think there's any reason for this team not to be able to play Winston D.Va pretty happily.
Yeah, I think they'll be able to come up with something that will be able to get them past. I know the London Spitfire. London's got a brutal schedule. The desk really kind of hit on it. I mean, it is a rough go for them.
It's death row. Let's be clear.
Yeah, I mean, it is a rough go, as Nepal will be our first map in the series. Also a reminder that Dallas Fuel, although they win the May Melee, they go in as like one of the bottom seeds. They are only 2-2, like in our overall season. They absolutely needed those points for the May Melee competition. So those will really kind of carry them in the overall standings, because their record isn't the best thus far.
Yeah, great point. They get 3 match wins for winning the entirety of the May Melee, which, I mean, is only slightly more than, you know, if they just managed to go clean through the qualifiers. So, yes, it puts them in a pretty nice spot, but it doesn't set them very far ahead of the rest of the league. That's why the Dallas Fuel today needs to show that with this composition, with this roster, they're adaptable enough to deal with whatever hero pools has, and London, for that matter, has to throw at them. I personally expect plenty of, you know, Reaper Echo from these guys. Yeah, no surprise there. You don't have to play Mercy Brig in this composition, or sort of Mercy Arnas we've seen from some teams. You played the Brawl variant, something that Dallas was showing us even in the May Melee. Just this really comp map that just wants to fight very quickly, get the most out of Moira in a short span of time.
Yeah, and for a lot of teams, you kind of look at this composition and you're like, oh, well, where's the double shield? Like on Control, you can run something like this a little bit more effective. And then I also think for Dallas, this puts a bunch of their players on roles that they really excel on. So London will come out and actually mirror this to kick things off.
All right, not often we actually get to see the Lucio Moira mirrored between one another. You see Doha's working around the fringes of that Winston bubble early on, and okay, the trade goes in favor of the Fuel, and that's why Multi has to just turn around straight away. And now Dallas see that, they win the early trade, and they just lean into the Spitfire a little more.
As the Spitfire now want to go wrap to the point. They realize they can't take high ground, they want to try and beat Dallas Fuel to the point, but Dallas is so fast. They are already. The positive here for London is Rip has already got this Coalescence.
Fielder not too far away from it himself. That healing orb has definitely gone to help. Rip to go with the Biotic Orb offensively before the Coalescence, so an extra bit of damage, and they're able to find Sparkle with the Micro Rockets. Going to be a Primal Rage from Fearless, so Dallas are going to be a little bit hard to shift off of the point at this time. Ripper has to use a Biotic Orb to heal himself, and Hardy's in trouble. Oh my god, there could be another Coalescence here for the Spitfire. Blase going to copy a Moira, and here we go again. Sound barrier for the Dallas Fuel though, so that'll help them stave this off. Fielder getting close to yet another Coalescence. We might have multiple support ultimates cycled through here, Matt.
Well, and mind you, this fight is going for so long in this brawl type of setup. You see a Death Blossom there in traditional Death Blossom fashion. Just the Reaper goes die, 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 and he's the only one that dies. But the Dallas Fuel control the point for the entire portion of this beginning kind of sequence. Mulfig could go for the remake kill. He'll just get staggered out. But, I mean, that is 50% already and counting for the Dallas Fuel, and that is effectively our first fight. That is just a fight that goes forever.
Really very difficult to isolate a single target in a fight like that where there is just so much healing being provided. The Spitfire spent 60% of that fight with a Coalescence in play, healing their team and also getting some damage. They're going to try this again. They really are testing themselves fundamentally here against the Dallas Fuel. Doha has a Death Blossom now, takes a glancing blow, is able to move back forward as Reaper goes down to the Primal Rage. So the Spitfire have no business winning this fight, and I think they know that.
And Fearless is getting so much value with these Primal Rages. The first one that he used in the previous fight, he actually knocks Kellex to a sound barrier, basically all the way up to the high ground alone. This time he's able to just knock both support so far away from the rest of the team. They leave Mulfig demeched again. They'll take him out as this is a dominant first point here from Dallas.
Yeah, Hardy has no choice but to throw himself into the breach, but Doha's going to be there to catch him with the spiked mitts. And the Dallas Fuel will look very, very good in this first round. Now, Matt, control, obviously, the objective is a little bit more straightforward. It is very much just a matter of butting heads on the point. Even ult economy means a little less because there's just so much healing available and so many support ults with that ability to duplicate a support, but it's the little things there for the Dallas Fuel that make a big difference. Mostly, setting up your Reaper for success. That defense matrix from Hanbin quite often is in Doha's direction, just to make sure that Doha can actually play as aggressive as he'd like to and not get sticky bombed.
And we've seen London play a lot of these like Winston-based compositions, and I kind of question a little bit more to like why. We've seen such good effect against these like aggressive comps with double shield, like Orisa in the mix specifically. And I feel like if you're going to play the Dallas Fuel, you wouldn't want to play them in a matchup that was, you know, Winston Diva aggressive type of dive, right? You'd want to try and, you know, change the pace of the game, slow the pace of the game down a little bit, you know, play from a distance. But London opts to play them in the mirror.
Yeah, I think that's just an unfortunate sort of comfort composition matchup here. That the London Spitfire want to play the same way as the Dallas Fuel, but maybe just quite as proficient. That's pretty good, though. They do a good job of isolating Sparkle there. It's actually Shaxx who goes on a flank at the start of the fight.
They knew he was there as well, which is so bizarre about how he's able to pick this up. As, it looks like London should be able to take this point. You just have both tanks and Fielder alive here for Dallas. As, that'll be Hanbin going down eventually. So this should be London being able to take it.
Yeah. Look, this composition, as opposed to the Ana Mercy variant of this sort of Winston Echo Dive, doesn't have as many tools in the backline for dealing with Reapers. So sometimes you know a Reaper's flanking, but you don't necessarily have the tech to deal with him outside of maybe trying to boop him away or just fading away if you're the Moira under pressure. So maybe you have to let it happen to a degree. Hardy's going to come in here. He has that Primal Rage. There's going to be a Coalescence in the fight for Fielder and Reaper respectively. And there's a lot of pressure being applied to Sparkle, who has to duplicate a Diva. Doha gets blown up. Mulfig's able to knock him off the map there. No TP available. And of course, Kellex is going to be able to pull himself back up onto the ledge. That self-destruct had no business fighting Hardy, and somehow the Spitfire lose their main tank to the free ultimate from Sparkle. And the Fuel are now poised to retake, but as a duplicated Winston on the point, Blase is in danger mode now. Primal Rage could be really risky for the Fuel to play around, and they go for a sound barrier.
Yeah, the sound barrier there is massive for Jexay trying to keep everybody up. That'll be another self-destruct here from the Fuel. This time it's Hanbin's mech. So you do have players coming back here for London. So Hardy jumping on the point. You still have Ripper here. You'll be able to stall this out for a little bit longer. But Dallas with just such a man advantage at this point.
Those couple of big hits, by the way, from Doha are so important. It's really hard to heal that damage up quickly in the midst of the fight. So if Doha can get purchase on Molfig when there's no defense matrix available, 1-2 shots, all of a sudden puts so much pressure on London and also kind of forces Molfig to turn tail and not be able to defense matrix any of his teammates. Doha's in a great position here, Matt, to just stop the Spitfire before they get started.
Yes, Dallas Fuel are going to play really close to the store. You're also going to get a Primal Rage out of this as well for the Dallas Fuel. See, they're just trying to get London, bait them in here, maybe get a DMAC, try and burst down the D.Va real quick, and then a Death Blossom. That'll be Shaxx coming out with a Death Blossom, and Coalescence helping him out.
Yeah, a lot of particle effects in this site, but crucially it's Shaxx that actually gets taken down during that Death Blossom. Somehow Reaper's not able to keep him healed up by the looks of things with that Coalescence, and Fearless is causing so many problems. Matt, one look at Fearless, and you can see why it's so hard for the Spitfire to avoid those self-destructs, the Duplicator one and Hunt Bins. With all this displacement, you can't reliably break line of sight against that explosion.
Yeah, absolutely, and he makes it very difficult even on the tanks of the London Spitfire because he just keeps pushing back the supports, and obviously with a Moira Lucio, you only get benefit of their healing if they're really close.
Yeah.
So I mean, there have been times where, you know, Hottie's been having to back out to just get back within line of sight of those players.
Another D.Va duplication, so you know what this means. Sparkle's going to have himself a new shiny mech in just a moment. Okay, see, Reaper and Kellex, perfect point, Matt. They had to fade away, in fact, did Reaper. Couldn't be there to heal the rest of his team. Kellex is having to get back just in time to get the sound barrier to the rest of the Spitfire, but the Fuel is still in control of the point. It's 78% and counting, and again, Shaxx is the first casualty in this fight. Huge amount of damage off the table now for the London Spitfire, and so is their flank pressure. Doha's confident enough to go forward with the Death Blossom, and Hardy is felled, and this has got to be curtains for London, Matt.
It's going to be tough. You're looking at London. They have no ultimates to kind of get back in through this show quickly. Fearless with the Primal Rage. They actually know that Kellex is trying to make a play for the point. Beautiful read there by Dallas. So he will not be able to touch, and that'll be the Dallas Fuel taking map number 1.
Plucky as they are, the London Spitfire want to challenge Dallas on their own terms. I mean, it's brave, and some might call it a fool's errand. Decent start in the second round there from London. Again, as we start to see maps that sort of aren't control maps, you might see, you know, backline compositions that are a little bit more resilient to that kind of displacement and don't always have to be right on top of their front line to do some work. And that might be a good sign for London, of course, as we know their backline is very, very dangerous. So stick around, because map number 2 and another chance for the London Spitfire to get on the board is coming up.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest and fastest 5G network. Set your sights on the competition with T-Mobile. And by Indeed. We help people get jobs. The Overwatch League is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official refreshment of the Overwatch League, and by IBM, the official cloud and AI partner of the Overwatch League.
Yeah, we've been absolute fans of your awesome artistic work this season so far in our fan art gallery by Coca-Cola. So this week, bit of a twist. We would love you to try and submit your favorite Overwatch League player enjoying a Coca-Cola beverage for a chance to be featured on the gallery. And that's pretty broad. They can be enjoying it in a vast, they could be swimming in it, you know what I mean? That would also be okay. You can submit your art over at overwatchleague.com/art-gallery to get your submissions in there. It could be Carl with a cold Coca-Cola beverage. That would be acceptable too, Matthew.
Sure.
Carl gets thirsty sometimes as well.
Very thirsty. Very thirsty.
Now-
It's dangerous when he's thirsty.
I bet. Doha, of course, now. Okay, so Danny talks it up at the start of the show. He's cherry picking because he's like, I don't think this guy gets enough credit. In fairness, there was definitely the argument that Doha was like unsung hero of the Dallas Fuel's May Melee campaign, and especially in that final. Definitely a candidate for player of the match, but he didn't shatter from the air like, you know, the 300 Spartan style. But, I mean, obviously, this guy, over this time on Element Mystic, really was quite an impressive player. And perhaps the reason some people feel he's overrated is maybe because Sparkle's just a little bit more of an animated personality, but Doha is so important, especially right now, because he's the star in this setup. When it's Echo Reaper, it is definitely on him to do a heck of a lot of the work. Obviously, Hybrid gets subbed in for Shax here as we're heading to our second map, and that was obviously the Reaper player from the pool coming out onto the bench now, and Hybrid, who we know to play a bit more of that medium to long-range hit scan.
Yeah, with Junkertown, you fully expect them to play like a Widowmaker, potentially like a double sniper setup, which the Dallas Fuel you don't think can match unless one of Sparkle or Doha has picked up the Widowmaker. We can take a look at the map leaderboard presented by Xfinity. Dallas on the receiving end of a fast time. I wonder if that was Custa's Valiant. And then the Fuel.
2018, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, no. That
was
was Custer's Fuel, wouldn't it, a bit?
Was he on the Fuel there, or was he on the Valiant?
Well, that was Season 1. So, yeah. I mean, Custer was on the Fuel first, if you recall.
Right, but he was traded during Season 1.
Ah, well, we're there. Okay, so we could maybe
don't
one
know.
of them is Custer. Maybe they're both Custer, but he was on different teams. You know
Maybe
what?
he was traded halfway through the series.
Custer's just the center of too much drama. I cannot keep up with it, man. It's like a sitcom, a soap opera, if you will. I mean, he didn't compare himself to Jesus, I guess, so there's that.
That was... I want to see this. I want to see the Sparkle Widowmaker. This would be just the ultimate of like, you know what? I'm just going to pick up the Widow. I know he picked up Pine, but watch this, guys. And then just come out. Honestly, if you were London, you would have zero clue that would even be a thing. You have
It's not happening,
clue
man.
that they would play Widowmaker. No, I mean, this would be even wilder. You know, get a Genji sighting here. But if you don't have Widow and you're going to dive the Widow on the other team, you may as well go with the Genji.
Yeah, I just don't think Reaper does enough for you, especially when you get close to that first checkpoint. It's way too open. Sparkle can at least close some of that distance, and he can really benefit from the nano boost here as well. Dive, the Widowmaker. This is, I mean, the Spitfire are not ready for this push at all. Just evidenced by how much damage Molfig takes. They can't stand their ground because the healing's just not there, so they concede all this high ground. Sparkle thinks, right, oh, well, I got a perch now, don't I?
And this is what I would have liked to see London play, obviously not with the Widowmaker, probably like an Ashe, in the first map. Play double shield, try and slow the game down. Don't play the dive against Dallas.
You could even
Dallas
try
gets
McCree.
A ton of payload progress here.
You could have done McCree on the map just to have more defensive capability with the flash. Obviously, that didn't happen. The Spitfire here, look at this, so passive. They're giving so much ground, and look at that, they just go past Hardy. Hardy sat in the middle looking like confused Travolta. They've just gone straight over his head. Molfig goes down now, and this backline's about to get ripped to shreds. I mean, the London Spitfire, they have high hopes to use Hardy as the bouncer, the doorsman, but he just gets ignored.
Well, I mean, that's your benefit of when you were discussing if you were to play like McCree, as you see Hybrid go to McCree. You play a lot closer together as McCree in the mix with the Batiste and whatnot. When you have the Widowmaker, you're going to play obviously from a distance. So looks like that'll be the first point take already for the Dallas Fuel. Is 5 minutes remaining on the clock. a ton of time. You're also going to build up here towards a Nano Blade for Dallas. You have the ability to even nano the Echo. No support ult on the other side. So things are cruising still here for the Dallas Fuel.
Oh yeah, they are doing just fine. Blase has a duplicate available. Might be a Diva. Maybe this part of the map could be pretty effective, especially to shut down some of Fielder's impact. We'll see what Blase's looking for right now. Again, the London Spitfire, so respectful. They give him so much room. So British of them, really.
But they're just going to come around the corner and use a nano on a... Yeah, this time it's on a Fearless. Huge biotic grenade there from Fielder as well. You know, you give up that much space. You put yourself in a position, Mitch, where you only have one fight. Like, that's it. I mean, look at where the payload's going to get here. You know, Blase doing his best, trying to primal players off. You haven't even used the blade here if you're the Dallas Fuel. You've taken really 3 fights as London, and you've lost all of them. And now that's going to be the second checkpoint complete with 5 minutes and 20 in the bank.
Hardy's lack of mobility is being exploited every single fight. That one was no different. Over his head go the Dallas Fuel. Fearless Primal Rages, forcing the Spitfire into that small corridor. Hardy sat on the floor like, what about me? No, like he's dying last in all these fights. He's just being ignored. Like, at least maybe if the Spitfire can play around him, they can use Holt more effectively to prevent Sparkle from being able to dash away. Flash there almost deflected. In fact, it might have been deflected into one of Hybrid's teammates. Hard to say. Doesn't matter. No one dies as a result, and Supercharge has been removed here. The Spitfire's still not sure how to make this happen.
No, and you're giving up even more payload progress here. And they're trying to have the McCree up on the high ground. This will be a Nano Blade that comes through. Sparkle gets 1. He's going to get at least 2 more.
Oh my! This is about as one-sided as you can get. 4 minutes 30 on the clock here.
Dude, they still have a sound barrier here. I mean, they're going to have a sound barrier self-destruct. You're going to stagger out Molfig. I mean, what, you're going to have a rally Deadeye here at the end? I mean, this is not good.
Body grenade, it's 4! Oh my! Ripper gets hit with that one as well. Blase and Hardy can't even really peek out, and Sparkle's able to find 2 quick kills already. Hybrid finds 1. Electric Cowboy eventually brought to his knees as Sparkle finds the finish there. There is still a self-destruct to make some of this space, and Harman's going to use that straight away. Molfig's able to break the line of sight by using the body of the card, and he'll have a self-destruct of his own. A pause now for the Fuel, but it's back to business. Kellex completely isolated and removed in that right side corner. Molfig trying to keep this going, but a Deadeye now from great distance. Hybrid, can't get it done. Harman runs him down with the micro rockets, and Molfig can't get back into his mech. Sparkle has a blade, he pulls it straight away, even though he's hit with a body grenade. This guy is legitimately unhinged. Now he's looking to the skies. But Dallas Fuel, they're already floating comfortably through the map. 3 minutes 32 on the clock.
We just ran the graphic for you know, the fastest time, so that graphic may be old news. We have to.
So it's 3:32.
That one actually
3:32.
The top
the
5.
5th fastest is 3:46, so it's pretty darn close.
We've seen some blowouts on this map. What in the world?
So
I mean, that seemed like we were on like record pace for a bit. I mean, London just gave up so much space. They never took fights. Like, there's one thing to kind of like get set up and organize and get together and take a fight, but they never had an opportunity to, like, you know, force some ultimates out, take a fight close. We can see this is the Nano Blade.
Again, Hardy ignored. Just ignored.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is why when someone says...
Well, you're also playing the McCree on the high ground. Sorry, but you're playing the McCree on the high ground, and you're playing the main tank on the low ground, and you have an on-off to the right. You're still really kind of spread. Like, they could have even maybe tried to play, you know, I mean, this is like a really slow comp. You could have tried to play like something like a Reaper with the McCree and really kind of play like a Bunkerish, but you just lose out on so much damage, like with the no Echo in the mix. Dallas is going to play close. They're going to play the Reaper.
So Hardy might punish here just with the hog initially. In case there's a spawn cam attempt, they know what's going on. But he misses the hook, so he switches straight away. Cat's out the bag there. Oh man, you can just see the look of resignation on his face as he realizes he has to lock the battle cow against this. Now, probably a little bit easier for him. Yeah. Yeah, you play Reaper close.
Yeah.
This comp does require you to get out of spawn to some degree. But again, you just want to make it really less than ideal to die here.
We got to get you on the desk. I mean,
You like that one? Yeah.
Yeah. They got to get out of the spawn door to make this one work. Mitch, I'm going to break this one down. If they can get on the payload and get it moving, they got a shot.
The only thing worse than John Madden is John Madden's co-commentator
Come on.
who calls him
Like,
out.
oh, they gotta get out of the spawn to make this comp work. Every comp needs to get out of the spawn to make
All right,
it
well,
work. Come on,
admittedly,
Mitch.
it's a little bit facetious, Matt. It's definitely not 100% in earnest. I'd like that to at least maybe go without saying once in a while. Still, a minute
Look,
off the clock.
I take everything literally, right? So when you say that, I think that's literally what you think.
Right. I just thought it was actually because you didn't know what facetious meant. But that makes more sense actually
no.
now. Listen,
I'm not good with sarcasm.
We got a minute, more than a minute off the clock here. So in fairness, that Spitfire comp didn't work out until they're actually able to get out the door properly and actually leverage the Blaze's ability to wrap around. Here's a nano boost on the McCree. Forget about it, folks. He blows him up.
That is the fastest I've seen anybody die with a nano boost, I think, ever. He got the nano in the focusing beam, the primal just comes right on top of his head. It's, these fast fights. And to be fair to London, like, this is a composition that you would kind of craft up thinking, like, okay, we can bait them in, don't really punish them close range with the Reaper and the McCree. And Dallas doesn't care. They're finding a target, they're picking a target, jumping on them, and just burning them down so fast. Really, the Echo focusing beam, it has a little bit more length and range than people realize. And you're able to burst some of these players down from pretty far away.
That ability in and of itself actually might be a problem for these sort of comps to deal with.
Supercharger here, you can just line of sight all of this. Yeah, I mean,
Deadeye is from Hybrid and off angle. Sparkle's able to use that invulnerability frame though during his duplication just to get himself a Diva. They have lost Jexa right now, so Dallas Fuel compromising a little bit of their mobility. Ripper's going to be able to just dodge that one pretty comfortably here. Blaze's Death Blossom will get Fearless eventually. So Matt, in some sense, this comp finally does what it's supposed to do.
well, the biggest kill there is they get Jexa at the beginning, because what they're trying to do is get aggressive behind his speed and the sound barrier. And they pick him off and not able to obviously use the sound barrier during that fight. A change here from Sparkle. So gonna go over to the Genji again. So Genji Reaper dive here with the Ana in the mix. So this is the kind of, in a return, a little bit of an answer, right? Where London's comp wants to play really close together. You can get really good value with the Genji dash, but then more importantly, just look for Fielder with these biotic grenades. He's hitting a ton on their offensive side.
Sound barrier, there it is for Jexa, just in time as well. Fielder doesn't benefit from it, Matt. Doha's going to be able to get rid of Kellex to start the fight with it now. I mean, he's just in the perfect position to continue. This is tough. I mean, tougher to play from this position as London now, where they're contending with the high ground.
And that's what they would have done in that previous push, as Sparkle having the time of his life here.
Yeah. Oh, God.
They usually, pro players usually always, very stressed, right, under a ton of pressure in these games. The defending champion's first match of the tournament here, and he is all smiles trying to spawn camp as Genji. Like,
this is only a look that you get
University
from Dallas, right? I don't really see many teams that bring the Genji here.
Really none. But,
yeah.
But also no other teams have the problems that they have in terms of.
I mean, they could play Echo. Right, they could play. I guess they could play the Echo here still. You'd have to worry about Hybrid, but you could get away with it. A lot of teams try it anyway. Or maybe Ashe from this position as well if you had the hit scan access, so sure. But Genji works just fine. You see, it's skill dependent, I think, especially when you have the nano boost, right? It's not so bad.
Well, so many good nano targets. Fearless, obviously. Doha, you could nano the Reaper. Nano Blade, a fantastic combination. Here's going to be the Blade to kick things off. That'll be a nano boost as well here. And they're able to deal with Sparkle.
Nice turnaround there. Hybrid going to push forward now that Rally was used. But look, Dallas start that fight pretty early on in this stage, right? They force out key ultimates as well from London.
I was going to say that. They end up, London ends up using what? They end up using Rally and Nano there.
Yep.
So you come back here, if you're Dallas, you'll have a Nano that you're building up here, letting Fielder get all of this healing on a Fearless. And you could Nano Doha, send him in. Yeah, you can Nano the Winston here. A lot of options for Dallas. And this is why you take the fights early.
Dallas wants to push up now. Doha's hit with a biotic grenade, so he won't be Death Blossoming for now. But the Spitfire acquiesce. They just give Dallas all of this room, and Doha gets himself back on the high ground vantage. I mean, you can't really dodge this. Now Harding split for the rest of his team, and that is definitely a dead Orisa. What a crucial positioning error there from the Spitfire, and the Dallas Fuel, they capitalize instantly.
You win this fight for Dallas, you end up having to use a sound barrier there. Maybe you think that London's going to invest from the high ground, but it's probably not even necessary in the grand scheme of things. So 20 seconds left. A lot of good early fights here for the Dallas Fuel. They've drawn this one out. They'll have Death Blossom, Primal Rage, Blade here to try and close it out.
Spitfire, okay, Deadeye maybe not as relevant. They can nano boost Blase here. Self-destruct's also available. Harmon takes a ton of damage early on here, and Molfig, okay, I think he's forced into that self-destruct. I don't think he really wants to do that normally. Doha slept, trying to go for the Death Blossom, and there it is. That's what I mean about the difference. You don't have just the Lucio Moira. You actually have a way to deal with that Reaper now. Speaking of which, Reaper going to go down. Harmon going to pick him up, and Sparkle goes for the Blade. It's enough to get rid of Molf's mech. And it's going to be a Wraith Walk away for Blase, who had Death Blossom and no chance to use it. Oh dear, I mean, the look on Sparkle's face tells the whole story. It is another day at the office for the Dallas Fuel.
Fast fights from the Dallas Fuel, getting really aggressive on the London Spitfire. That time it's Fearless with a nano boost, goes into the back. He separates everybody from the London Spitfire, and they have no speed to kind of group back together and get back on the point. Now, once you start spreading out against this Dallas team and you're going to have to take these different duels, it's going to be a fast game in Dallas's favor.
London had to hold on here, otherwise there's going to be back to MI6 because they'll be 0-7. Stick around, let's see if the Spitfire can make a game of this.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest and fastest 5G network. Set your sights on the competition with T-Mobile. And by State Farm. For auto, home or renters insurance, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Overwatch League is brought to you by Cheez-It Grooves. So much flavor, it's a mind crunch. TeamSpeak, the official voice supplier of the Overwatch League. And by NetApp, the official data management partner of the Overwatch League.
Now your only damage is going to be a Genji, which isn't the most consistent in the world at trying to do damage, although I say that, look at Doha, just slow! That's the ghost catch!
5, the biggest one from Blippi yet. But Izayaki will go down, but not before he can get that nano boost out on a Fearless, who is just cleaving everybody like a monster.
Longo as well, Titanfield dies, and Sparkle! Oh my word, that's what we wanted to see.
Yeah, that's right. Here's IBM Watson with your dose of reality. Just to remind you exactly what the Spitfire are going up against, Matthew. Here's your top 10 overall players entering this week. 1, 2, and 3 are locked up by Fielder, Fearless, and Hanbin, respectively. That's 2 tanks in support, by the way. Sparkle and Doha also round out the top 10. You are going up against the creme de la creme of the Overwatch League here. It's a tough job.
Yes, it is a very tough job. You would like to see it be a little bit closer, I think, at times.
That's as bad as me saying you need to get out of spawn to use your composition, you know it, bro.
I mean, that is not. I mean, you know, the game
It'll
could be
nice
close, it could be not
a
close.
little bit more competitive. Yeah, well,
I mean, yeah, but I mean, teams fundamentally to make any kind of composition work have to leave the spawn.
Actually, Junkrat can still have impact while in spawn, indirectly. There's plenty of heroes that have indirect impact on the game state.
Well, Shaxx is back in, so maybe he'll help make it close, as the next map in the series will be Hanamura. And I think what we talked about at London has a brutal schedule this tournament. They've had a coaching change, obviously playing online, a lot going against the London Spitfire. The map leaderboard presented by Xfinity for Hanamura all time features a ton of Dallas Fuel.
Wow.
On the receiving end of one from the Seoul Dynasty, and then putting up really good times in 2018 and then 2020.
Yeah, it looks like Dallas Fuel are probably out here today to paint that one blue as well. And look, seeing Shaxx come in probably makes you think, okay, maybe if the Spitfire want to play so much of that sort of Winston Diva, they probably have Shaxx on the Reaper. Okay, so I find this meta right now is really interesting in terms of how Winston initiates, because so much, especially on the attack, Winston has to do all the scouting. Because usually it's too dangerous for your Echo to sort of peek out and try and look for that info, and you don't have a Tracer or a Sombra. So it's like these little half jumps, like they're trying to, it's almost like attackers sometimes just try and bait a counter dive by just like half jumping forward and, you know, tickling the other Winston a little bit and trying to catch people out of position. So keep that in mind as a Spitfire, it's going to be, you know, incumbent upon them to try and find a way to draw Dallas out of formation. Sparkle, though,
Sparkle
is on the Ashe.
Yeah, so Sparkle on Ashe, you'll have a double bubble set up with the Zarya on defense, with a Brig here as well for the Dallas Fuel. You can run the Brig on D. There's no real reason for like the Lucio for the speed boost.
It's a real investment in Fearless, I think, bringing the Zarya instead of the Diva.
Yeah. London will go with a Mercy Batiste. So the Mercy with the damage boost for both the Echo and the Ashe, really strong. I like the decision to bring in the Sigma as well. If you're going to play these slow comps, really commit to it.
I would have liked to see the Sigma actually on Junkertown. It might have made it a little bit easy for, you know, to have an off angle set up and actually be able to deal with, you know, that dive. Okay, that's not ideal, Sparkle. Not exactly the sterling debut on the hit scan that he was looking for. And there's no mercy on the side of the Dallas Fuel. The London Spitfire, it's time for them to pounce.
You're inside of this close room, though. It gets so scary, and that's a big biotic grenade. Can you take advantage of it if you're the Dallas Fuel? And it looks like you can.
Okay, I think there's some work to be done here by Hanbin. He actually still has the bubble of the deceased Fearless, but it's the sticky bombs to get the job done. And look, the Spitfire's comp, you know, similarly to last map, it's not fun to dive. That McCree's still an issue, plus you now have the Sigma accretion to stave off any would-be interlopers.
It was so... really fortunate there for London. I think like 4 players got hit with that biotic grenade. It looked like Dallas could have been able to turn that. Will Dallas come back and contest? It looks like they're going to opt to give it up. So Dallas will play for the point B. Really good offense there from London on that first point.
Mercy. Okay, so yeah, it's going to be Mercy Echo now. The Genji picked up again. For the Dallas Fuel, it's a tough one for Sparkle, really. There's a break to deal with. It's still the McCree flash, and again, like I mentioned, there's Sigma's presence, which is a little bit hard to shift if you're Genji. Sparkle will be pretty tentative at first, probably play from longer ranges to start to build that blade up before he has the opportunity to go forward. But it's a Primal Rage here, so Fearless is going to really make things tough for London in terms of playing closely together. And we'll see him bust that out soon, I'm sure.
I think that just having the Sigma in the mix makes it obviously a little bit harder to play that Genji. That'll be a halt with the Amp Matrix drop down there, and that'll force out the Primal Rage.
Yeah, you really think Harbin gets away with that one, but a halt drags him back into the purview of the Amplification Matrix. But there it is. Every time there's a Primal Rage, it just seems to be an automatic fight win for the Dallas Fuel. Reaper's caught out of position there. It looks like Kellex was hit with that Biotic Grenade. The Genji play from a duplicated Blase. Not able to find the kill on Fearless, and Harbin's back in the fight now, so this just becomes one almighty stagger.
So the sticky bombs take him out at the end there.
Fearless not happy with that.
No, it's just some kills going down on the map here. Obviously, Dallas Fuel going to have a huge advantage in terms of spawn on defense. A lot of ultimates here available for London. Could you set up like a halt with the Gravitic Flux? You're looking at potentially like a grab with a copied... I mean, do you copy the Sigma on the other side? Do you copy like somebody like a Brig? Not a ton of great copy targets.
We saw Doha copy Hardy actually on Junkertown at one point, so I guess that's an option for defenders. I guess it's reasonable. No, okay, Baptiste gets copied here. An extra an Immortality Fuel with otherwise wouldn't have been one seems pretty good for the Fuel, and a potential Amplification Matrix. For Doha, really. It'll be a personal one, if anything. Field has gone down, so having that Baptiste is really important right now, but Sparkle's also gone by the wayside.
Yeah, and they end up investing the rally here, London, is that'll be a Deadeye gets used.
Oh,
but
what?
Shaxx has to get out of the way really quick. Ends up canceling it. I believe he had Fearless in his face. Is being Molfig who drops down trying to get a tick, but it's going to be Fearless that gets on to contest.
Valk for Jexa there, keeps Fearless in fighting form, and now he has a Primal Rage once more. Molfig knocked to the low ground. Immortality Field in a bit of an awkward spot for the Spitfire to benefit from. And Shaxx has found two. Big difference maker on the McCree so far, but it doesn't look like that's going to quite be enough here. Sparkle sheathes the blade and gets to work with the shurikens. And Blase can really only stand off on that high ground. He can't get involved anymore.
You got some percentage, though, here for London. You end up getting 52%. You guarantee that tick. Hadi will go back to the Orisa. But and now you're kind of starting, I mean, well, Dallas Fuel used a ton of ultimates as well. So maybe if you're Blase, you're able to copy Fearless, cause some issues, and try and set up that Deadeye from Shaxx on the high ground yet again.
Shaxx looked very good on the McCree so far. Obviously, Hybrid played the McCree in the previous map, but Shaxx showing that he can cover that role more than adequately. And Deadeye as well, definitely could be nasty. If the Spitfire can get this pole position right now, make use of the double shield, and it's going to be on Dallas to find a way to break through this. Doha has another duplicate here. May not be a Baptiste once more, we'll see. Oh, big Biotic Grenade. That's one of the risks of playing so close together behind the Orisa, and Shaxx is taken down. I mean, they're right for the picking, Matt. 4 of them are purple, and Sparkle dashes in.
I mean, these Biotic Grenades, it was the same thing during the melee from Fielder. It seems like time and time again, even from like long ranges, basically playing at a spawn, able to connect and land on 2, 3, 4 players at a time. Now Dallas Fuel, that fight gives them enough time to build up some just kind of reserves in terms of their ultimates, right? Now they actually have a ton to work with.
Matt, Fielder isn't just ranked as the top support in the league, he is the top overall player in the league according to IBM Watson. And it's big Biotic Grenades like that that are a reason why. Molfig has to desperately go for a defensive Gravitic Flux, and it does catch, but Sparkle's still going to be with the blade, and he gets himself 4. There's no escape, and Molfig knows it. To the sky, Sparkle will go. Won't be chained down, and Hanbin, steals that kill. Sparkle less than pleased, but it don't matter. The Fuel get a team fight win with 50 seconds remaining for the attackers.
I just want to say, don't play Genji in your ranked games. This is not how.
Do not try this at home.
People play. Yeah, looking at you, Brenji. This isn't a call to all Genjis out there to just start insta-locking. I mean, this is just Sparkle dominating the game, just putting on an absolute show. So there's just nobody like him in the league.
And that's for good reason. Most teams prefer to play safe for setups. The Genji is not as safe as playing a Bonafide Hitscan or Reaper in this position. But for the Dallas Fuel, it looks pretty darn good. That one, though, not great. Hanbin sends that one straight into the Dyson. Jax is going to be able to resurrect Hanbin. Midfielder's still out of the mix here, and there's no duplication for an extra flex support available yet. Doha goes down to the Deadeye before he has a chance to use that ultimate. And now the Spitfire are in a good spot. Fearless has no help on the point, and London can move in.
Huge. So London actually gets the map complete. So that's massive for them. You know, finishing with only 52% on that second point would have been really tough for them for the rest of the map. So they end up killing Doha there just as he's able to get a duplicate, which probably saves him, allows him to complete the map. So I think now what does Dallas Fuel decide to play on offense? Do you try and play, you know, Genji Echo Dive here on the offensive side of things? Fully expect to see Jexay on the Lucio here. You're going to need the speed to probably get through the choke. Just kind of... It's really interesting. I think this is another situation where the Dallas Fuel just really hard to read.
You can play Moira Lucio here, I think.
Yeah, maybe you play like the Reaper in the mix if you wanted. I would love to see what happens like Dallas against one of the teams like an Atlanta Reign, who we've seen play a really strong double shield comp on a lot of different maps. How that match would turn out.
That's a great point. The Spitfire seem to have one foot in either camp, Matt, right? It would almost look like in the first map they just preferred to play like a Winston-based comp, and they looked really uncomfortable on Junkertown because Hardy kept getting caught in between the play or just caught on the outside looking in because of all the verticality that the map had. I mean, Hanamura still has plenty of that. Hardy needs to make sure that he is able to stay in the fight, and there's no Lucio here for the Spitfire on defense, unsurprisingly. So there's no, addition to the mobility. Oddly enough, the more legs you have, the less speed you have. It's this inverse relationship that makes very little sense, and Hardy has to find a way to overcome it.
So they'll go with the Genji on offense, and then they'll also play the D.Va here. Need that mobility. They jump right on top of Mulfig, try and get him low, and they take pole position on the point.
Now, okay, so you need a shield cooldown here from Hardy to really get in position to start a contest. So that actually gives a full tick. Just London waiting for those cooldowns. Dallas have lost Fielder, though, and that is really going to hurt them here. They'll have to be satisfied with just the tick, I'd say. A D-suit on a D-suit rather on the D.Va is pretty tough for them to make anything happen here now. Hardy going down.
They get the second tick, and you still have players alive. Like, London was not able to finish off. I was going to say, no, they were not able to finish off, like, Jexay, Sparkle, and Doha. Like, Sparkle and Doha still in there up on the high ground, trying to wrap their way around towards the point.
Okay, so Hardy is a long way away still. There's no Lucio here. There's no way to taxi him back into the fight, so the Spitfire is short-handed here. Even though they won the previous fight and they've lost Shax already. Oh, they need the Orisa so badly, Matthew. And the Dallas Fuel just lean on in with this Coalescence. Fielder, first casualty of the previous fight, comes back with a vengeance now and is the decider as the Fuel take point A.
Now you come back with a Dragon Blade for Sparkle, Primal Rage, copy. This is going to be tough for the London Spitfire to defend against. This Gravitic Flux has to be big. Maybe like a Supercharger, the Halt, Gravitic Flux. With the way they push, though, in Dallas, it's so fast that sometimes you may not even get an opportunity to get one of those off.
Hardy's going to hold them back into a Flux if possible. It doesn't work. He doesn't hit anyone. Now Molfi gets to go for plan B. He tries to get some value out of the Flux, but it's all gone wrong. He's actually pushing out for this. This is absolutely mad. He gets nothing in that combo, the defensive setup. It's down to Gurgler, man.
And they had a duplicate there used too.
3 ultimates.
Yeah, and now you have Sound Barrier plus the Blade. You have your own duplicate as now the Dallas Fuel go in. They're going to use everything.
So bad. Okay, Deadeye high ground, Deflect prepared, and Shax is able to get rid of Fearless on the way down. Telex is still falling to the Primal Rage though, and Blase can't stick around. The Coalescence is going to clip his wings proper good. Hardy can sit behind his little portable bunker on the point for the time being, but it's another Field of Coalescence that is finding the kills. The Spitfire are getting absolutely hosed down. And they've got to be feeling awful. 3 ultimates spent in the previous fight to get very little value at all. The Doomfist now has to be brought to bear. One of Blase's signature picks, but it doesn't look like much of anything here. Here's the Wrecking Ball for Hardy on the point. Just a little bit of stall, but we all know which way this is going to go. And we've all seen Game of Thrones to know how it ends. One more tick and we'll be donezo here. Molfig desuited. That'll be Reaper desperately trying to throw the nano boost here on a desuited Diva. It's never a good look. Doomfist returning back to the fray once more, and Doha should be able to find the cleanup here. Reaper knocked off the point just a little more, and the fuel will be home and ready. Doha trying to get the hosing part of that one sorted. And there it is. Listen, it dwindled a little bit there, but the Dallas Fuel, you knew it. 2 fights ago, you knew it.
Could have been worse.
It's not good.
London
it's
come
really
out, they stall for about 30 to 40 seconds. As when they start making progress on that point, on the second point, there's like 4 minutes 30 plus on the clock. So they keep it going for a while. Still, it puts London in a tough position. You have to hold them from a tick with 3:45 on the clock. Not looking good here for the London Spitfire. They got to come up with some magic.
And not just your garden variety magic, Matthew. Not your pulling a rabbit out of the hat kind of magic. This is the being cut in half, multiple team fights, and being able to put yourself back together kind of magic. The Houdini kind of magic. Escaping from the unescapable situation, which is the Dallas Fuel just sweeping this series and the Spitfire under the rug. They're going to start with they're going to play the double shield here, as we sort of saw beforehand, and took Dallas a little bit to sort of find that foothold on point A. Again, it was really Hardy getting picked off in one fight and just not being there for the next. You can't risk taking Lucio here as a defender. So you really get punished for losing any players in this first fight. This is really set up for the attackers to eventually be able to bowl you over.
Especially when you lose players early, if you're London, and then you let the players for the Dallas Fuel just kind of linger on your side of the map. It forced them in such a weird position last time. It looks like here they give up the choke completely. They don't play like the Sigma on the high ground. They play him on the low ground to the side with the McCree. This is going to give Dallas a really good opportunity to just dive right onto the point. They're trying to find one player out of position.
Sparkle deflex there for a moment. The bell is being used here to break up some of this poke damage.
Well, no, they're just building up Coalescence. I mean, that's what's happening. I mean, Fearless stepping onto the point, not even putting a bubble down.
It's already got
getting low. Yeah, they're building up Coalescence here. Now they're going to go.
Oh, God. Master Roshi would be proud. Here's the Coalescence. Fielder interrupted, though. Huge accretion from Molfig. Molfig been that small point of brightness here for the London Spitfire so far in this series, but it takes more than one. No, it takes a whole village. Sparkle dashes through. Kellex down. Molfig already removed, and Shaxx is just not in a great position to succeed. The flashbang goes awry, and so do the Spitfire's plans. That's about as one-sided as you could ask for a series to be.
Really fast series. I mean, that is Dallas Fuel taking what they did in the main melee and bringing it in here to the June Joust. It's a lot of different interesting compositions that they use. A lot of Genji play from the Dallas Fuel today, which we don't see from a lot of rosters. It's really only them that can do it, or really them that have to do it at this high level until we see Pine join the team. But it doesn't impact them today against London. They make quick work of the Spitfire.
Jexa looks absolutely unimpressed from what he's seen so far from the London Spitfire. And I mean, you kind of called that at the start of that fight. The win condition is just get Fielder that Coalescence. And Fielder, more so known for his Ana play, that flashy style with his long-range biotic grenades and these really unlikely sleep darts. He's just getting it done. He's just doing the dirty work now. Building up Coalescence, allowing his team to take their poke damage. And the London Spitfire think, well, Matt, they just back up to the point and say, we have one chance at this realistically. But they have to have known that a Coalescence would come knocking eventually.
Yeah, and what do you do there if you're London? You can't just let Fearless walk onto the point and just stand there and not put any damage down on him. You have to kind of contest. You have to force him back off the point. It's a difficult position for London to play from.
And a player match today presented by Xfinity is a player who's been able to pull out a bit of a unique pick considering Dallas's unique circumstances. It's going to be Sparkle. Some real high-flying trapeze artist Genji action so far in this series. Sometimes assisted by the nano boost, but always very, very dangerous. The amount of 5K blades that he's getting in a meta where Genji is completely overlooked. He looks like a nice little niche pocket pick for Dallas, and it's fun to see him back in action again.
Just another great nano target for Fielder, right? We talked about how good he is on the Ana, being able to get these nano blades to pretty much fight wins, being able to nano the Winston with Fearless. Two really strong win conditions for the Dallas Fuel in a lot of fights. Not many other teams are doing this. Not really any other teams are doing this. And
Oh my
you
gosh.
see his stats on the Genji. I mean, just absolutely farmed today. I mean, that is one where you look back and it's like, hey, I can have a bad series now because I padded my stats in this one. As the Genji stats are disgusting.
It's ridiculous. That's across the entire series as well. We congratulate
8 Dragon
players.
Blade kills per 10 minutes.
Yep, that's messed up. We congratulate players, by the way, for getting 10 final blows per 10 minutes. That's like a really good benchmark. Sparkle has completely blown that out of the water. And that should really indicate to you just how outclassed the London Spitfire were in this matchup. Sparkle obviously is playing against Sigma, McCree, and Brigitte, and is still able to get an unbelievable... I'd love to know kills per Dragon Blade, just out of interest here. I'd wager it's at least 2. So the fact that he's able to succeed against a bunch of heroes that are designed to dissuade anyone diving or to make it really punishing for anybody to try and close the gap on this double shield setup. Man, I mean, I'm feeling pretty bad if I'm London. I also...
Yeah.
I'm not too hard on myself because should I expect to deal with Genji and all this Moira play? Maybe they just weren't ready.
I think if you're London, you'd obviously in a loss like to take some stuff from the series. I think if you're London, you kind of have to look back at this and be like, hey, we did not play well at all in any facets of the game, right? Just kind of chalk this one off. You got ran into a team that obviously won the last tournament, and maybe you learned some things you can bring into one of the next series. There's not really much to take from this one where you can say like, hey, I think we did this really well. Let's build upon that. I think you kind of learn from this and hopefully take it into the next series.
I mean, you're 0-7 now, Matthew. That's as simple as that. It's not been the kind of run that the Spitfire wanted to start this season. This is the fourth fastest of the year only? Fourth fastest match of the year. So there have actually been faster matches than this one, and quite a few of them, which is kind of insane. But definitely like a pretty brief affair. And maybe just that Hanamura extra back and forth is sort of what dragged things out a little bit there. But
I think it does kind of speak to the level of competition, though, in NA and how strong the top is, right? With teams, like the Dallas Fuel, the Houston Outlaws, the Shock. A lot of these teams have been able to make quick work of the teams underneath.
Yeah, it's tough stuff. The Dallas Fuel, though, of course, this is great. I mean, they would love to have a clean qualifying stage and not have to worry too much about a weaker seeding when they head into the actual knockouts themselves. But something tells me, Matthew, I don't think they mind who they go up against in that part of the season. When you're the Dallas Fuel, the Overwatch League is your oyster. And I think, again, with someone like Sparkle able to pull out performances like that, Doha, someone that we didn't really have to spend too much time talking about. He was really, we see he's out there copying Baptistes and stuff like that. So really focusing on just trying to provide that utility that he often does. We're going to head to a break, ladies and gentlemen. When we come back, there's much more of the Overwatch League today, of course, kicking off week 2 here of the June Joust in quite explosive fashion.
Alright, welcome to Game Break presented by Cheez-It Grooves. We're joined now by Doha from Dallas Fuel. 도하 선수 안녕하세요.
안녕하십니까.
Alright, so Doha, my first question for you is, you guys were able to watch the first week of June Joust tournament before you played your first match today. How did you use the first week to your advantage? 오늘 이제 어떻게 보면 이제 6월 토너먼트에 들어오면서 첫 번째 주를 쉬고 두 번째 주부터 첫 경기를 오늘 처음으로 치르게 되셨는데 좀 그 쉬는 일주일을 좀 어떻게 사용을 하셨나요?
일단 뱀픽이 없었는데 생기다 보니까 저희 팀만의 조합을 찾느라 시간을 좀 많이 썼던 것 같아요. 그거 빼고는 이제 우리만의 조합을 찾고 이제 그것만 연습했던 것 같아요.
Alright, I think we used most of the first week of the June Joust tournament sort of really carefully analyzing what's the best comp that's suitable for Dallas Fuel. Other than that, I think there's nothing more to it. But the most time that we used as Dallas Fuel team were probably sort of thinking about the ban picks that were happening in the June Joust and also picking out like what the best composition is going to be for our team. Talking about teams and compositions, my second question is sort of on that line as well. We've seen a variety of different comps and heroes being played in the June Joust. What are your thoughts on the current meta? Sorry, there's a little delay, so I'm gonna have to wait. Alright, 이제 두 번째 질문이 아까 말씀하신 좀 조합 얘기에 좀 관한 건데 이제 아무래도 이제 6월 토너먼트에 들어오면서 좀 다양한 조합과 좀 많은 영웅들을 저희가 보게 된 것 같아요. 도하 선수가 보시기에는 좀 이제 지금 현재 메타에 대해서 좀 어떻게 생각하시는지?
메타는 솔직히 정해진 건 없고 오버워치라는 게임에서 그 팀이 잘하는 색깔을 최고로 이제 잘 소화하면 그게 메타인 것 같아요. 그래서 뭐 딱히 정해진 건 잘 모르겠고 그냥 메타는 그냥 잘하는 팀이 만들어 나가는 거다 정도?
Alright, so I believe, in my personal opinion, I don't think there's, as of right now, not a set composition or a set meta in the June Joust tournament. I feel like meta is something that a really good team could make, and whatever composition they feel the most comfortable and the composition that they are good at, that's gonna be the meta for that team. It's basically like what color sort of matches your team. That's what the current meta is. Alright, Doha, thank you so much for your time and good luck in your next game. 도하 선수 오늘 너무나 수고 많으셨고요. 다음에 또 뵙도록 하겠습니다.
봐주셔서 감사합니다. 별 화이팅.
Alright, thank you so much. Let's head back to the desk.
Thank you so much, Doha. Thank you, Danny. You also passing the test of the speech jammer. So congratulations.
Yeah, well done.
That was tough.
Deep breath.
That was. Thank you guys. I tried my best.
No, you nailed it. I'm very, very impressed. Now, okay, Doha says that you just have to, play to your comfort zone, play to your comfort picks. And once again, it did look like that's exactly what the Dallas Fuel are doing. We saw a lot of Genji. Sparkle had an absolute field trip. Kasta, what were your overall thoughts on the compositions you saw from the Dallas? Do you like it, or is it risky? What are we feeling?
It's really hard to get a real sense of if this is going to work. No slight against the London Spitfire, but they just didn't have an answer. They just couldn't match up mechanically, it felt like, in this matchup. Even on the first map, on Nepal, where we saw pretty much mirror compositions, they just weren't strong enough. So then we went onwards from there. As soon as Sparkle picked up that blade, I knew it was going to get spicy. And somehow, Sparkle just seems to consistently make it work on whatever hero he plays, but also the entire Dallas Fuel team playing so well around it. It's just so impressive to see, but I don't know how much longer it's going to work. We've seen a lot of teams try to play this Genji style in last weekend's matches and very little amount of success. So Dallas is the first team to succeed with it on such a big way. How is that going to work with them in the rest of this June Joust? Because as much as this was an easy one, they're going to have harder ones. And as Doha said himself, play to your strengths. Play to what you think the meta is and what you're going to succeed with. Dallas is doing that once again in the June Joust. Are they going to be able to have the same melee results?
Yeah, you
let's
just got to
do it.
find your color. That was some real Little Mermaid thing
Right.
there. I like it. Find a color that suits you. Reinforce, how do you feel about the compositions we saw from Dallas?
Yeah, I mean, it worked spectacularly for them, right? They know how to play this dive. You got Fearless on Winston and then Sparkle, of course, playing that Genji. Costa covered it. That being said, though, London Spitfire, they mirrored that composition. They played that against the Dallas Fuel, which I don't think was maybe the greatest idea. Then again, it seems to be what they practiced and what they feel comfortable at, the London Spitfire, that is. That being said, we don't know how this Dallas Fuel composition is going to work against the better teams who are playing some other compositions, like the Atlanta Reign, for example. Atlanta Reign has been really good so far in the Dune Joust. How are Dallas Fuel, with their Winston and their Genji composition, going to fare against some of these other teams playing perhaps a more stable Orisa composition? I still think we'll have to wait and see the answer. I don't think Dallas Fuel are the clear-cut favorites of the Dune Joust, but just by this match alone or their main melee performances. The meta is going to evolve, so we'll see if any teams can actually counter the Dallas Fuel and what they're cooking right now.
Absolutely. Now, it is Crunch Time presented by Cheesy Grooves, and the Gladiators. They came into the season with very high expectations, but unfortunately, they did not end up looking as crisp and crunchy as we all expected them to see. They couldn't even qualify for the May Melee, so now they will have to play their first match ever since April 24th, so they've been on a bit of a break, Reinforce.
Wow. Yeah, they have been on a bit of a break, and it was needed for this team, as you said. 2-2 for the Los Angeles Gladiators in the main melee, and that's not really what they wanted going into the season. This was arguably a team that was top 2 in power rankings in the North American region for many analysts and community members alike. So obviously falling short in the main melee qualification was not what you wanted to see from the Los Angeles Gladiators. That said though, their losses was against the San Francisco Shock and the Dallas Fuel. So in hindsight, pretty formidable opponents for the Los Angeles Gladiators. So the fact they went 2-2, yes, it was a bit disappointing because of the high standards we had of the LA Gladiators, but at the same time, you know, it happens. They had 2 really tough opponents, and they have a chance for redemption here in the June Joust.
Also, I just want to point out that I don't know if you guys all knew, but today's Mr. Birdring's birthday. So I'm guessing that he's going to have a very crunchy game today by receiving that birthday buff.
Birthday buff.
Is that a thing?
I don't know.
Yes, henceforth it will be birthday buff. I mean, you don't want to lose on your birthday. Like, that's a double L. Wouldn't want that.
Well, you also just don't want to lose ever. So is this like double don't want to lose on your birthday, I guess? So, but Battering's pretty good. Look at that stats.
Yeah.
He's good.
Battering's pretty good.
Looking good.
Surprising, he is pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good indeed. Now, of course, we're ready for that match. We can't wait to see this first showing for the Gladiators in the June Joust. And for all the action, we once again send it over to the second most entertaining Aussie duo, right below the Naked Magicians, Uber and Mr. X. Yeah, I know Mr. X is not technically Australian, but he's Australian by marriage. Does that count?
Listen, Matt is a magician. He could disappear into any item of clothing that's bigger than extra small. You just won't see him. That, I think, is a gift.
It's true. Very, very true. I have no idea who these naked Australian magicians are.
You don't?
Do any of the Australians here want to inform me?
There's 24 million of us. Like, sorry, no, I don't know the name.
Lots of naked magicians in Australia.
So are they actually naked? Or that's why they're called naked?
No, trust me, no. The sun is a bit brutal over there. I'm pretty sure we weren't closed if we had the choice. So, all getting bitten by mozzies all the time. So I don't think we'd really fancy
let's get a close-up on Custa, the Australian.
Yes.
It's like, that guy's Australian. Put him on.
I mean, okay, he's wearing a shirt. You know the tagline of the Naked Magicians? Their tagline is good magicians don't need sleeves and great magicians don't need pants. So for all we know, neither Mitch nor Costa are currently wearing some because they're working their magic here in the show.
Don't need pants. Working from home.
That's where I'm going.
That's right.
Where is this going?
For all you know, I am pantsless. I could be a magician myself. All right, we'll stick around because I'm pretty sure one of these teams is going to have to be a magician to avoid just getting rolled. I think by the Gladiators. I think the Titans here definitely have a tall order against them. But Matt, this is the first time that these two rosters have actually played here in the June Joust. So we haven't really seen anything from them except primarily like McCree, May, the Ryan Baptiste sort of rush comp at Lucio that we saw in May. So these guys have had some time off, the Gladiators more so. So who knows what to expect from these two teams? And obviously the Titans have recently made a roster change.
Yeah, you did have Shredlock retire. They bring in Changsik. But I think the story about this match will be the Gladiators. They were a team that everybody thought really highly of going into the Melee. Some people even predicted them to like win the league. And they didn't even make the knockouts. They played quite poor. So for me, it's the Gladiators. How do they look here against the Titans, a team which they should be able to handle, especially bringing in a new main tank? It should be a winnable game for the Gladiators, but I want to see how they play.
Absolutely. Look, Matt, I think we got to see some of Birdring's Ashe stats, and they're actually really quite good. So he's up there as one of the sort of top Ashe players. We know what Kevster is capable of, right? And Mirrorweight's in the wing, so there's definitely no concern about the DPS potential. Muse comes in, and people are already crowing about him being a Rookie of the Year candidate, right? Shu is an absolute freak beast as a support player, so no one looks at this team and goes, they're middling. But again, the Gladiators in classic style ended their Melee run in very inauspicious, very middling fashion. This is where they can turn up, start of the June Joust, make a big statement, and look to actually be a real part of those knockouts. The Vancouver Titans, obviously, we've recently heard of the retirement of Shredlock, so Changsik gets brought into this team, and I think many people probably remember Changsik from the very successful Philadelphia, the Fusion University roster contenders, right? I don't know. Now, I don't know for sure where he's playing from. I would suggest that Changsik is probably playing from South Korea at the moment. But again, I can't sort of confirm nor deny that. A big change, though, for this team, Matt, to be sure.
Absolutely. Anytime you change your main tank is one of like the most, if not the most, like focal point of a team. One thing to note as well for the Gladiators, no Moth here early on, so probably not expecting some Lucio play. Probably expecting to see some, more Batiste, maybe even some Brig type of shenanigans from the Glads, but it'll also be the first map.
Yeah, so wouldn't you expect to see Lucio here?
It kind of depends on what they want to play. Like, you would also think Moth would be in if you wanted to play Mercy, right? So maybe there's some other different type of compositions that they want to run. Things that they mentioned on the desk, but they've been off for basically a month, so they've had a lot of time to be able to work on some interesting stuff.
Here we go. We're going to jump in just a moment. Of course, Linksa, a player who always plays above the performance of his team generally. His statistics indicate that he's a pretty darn solid DPS player, but it has struggled to be on rosters that, as a whole, have achieved great results. And Teru is a very promising prospect. We saw a lot of Mei from Teru. He played a ton of Mei in the Mei Melee, unsurprisingly. So this is a chance now to maybe see him branch out from that, as Mei's a little bit less sought after now in this sort of higher mobility or double shield style of play. And yeah, I mean, we get to see that Echo, of course, which is something that he looked quite good on at times as well.
So with the Gladiators, I fully expect them to run this type of support line. If you're not going to have Moth in the game, you're probably putting in the skew to play some Brig, whether you're going to play some Baptiste type of setups as well. So you'll have the Ana with the Brig here to kick things off. Kevser potentially could go over and play the Echo, so you could have like a Echo McCree here. Going up against the Echo Reaper. So the rush kind of composition coming in here for the Titans.
Interesting. There is also an Isaiah on the side of the Gladiators here, which is, obviously a fantastic pick for space, but also means that Muse is probably going to get a little bit of extra attention and those bubbles. Whereas Friedwiener probably is trying to do more to help Linksa stay alive in the front line with that defense. Well, that didn't work out too well, did it? The idea was there, but the execution lacked.
I would love to know as well how long Changsik has been playing with this team. I feel like to come out and try and play a dive with a new main tank, and let's say you've only been playing a week, and maybe he's playing from afar like you mentioned, I feel like that's tough. I mean, even if that's kind of the composition you want to run, you've got to put yourself in an easier position, at least to ease into it here at first.
I'd suggest it's been days. As far as I can tell, we don't really know how much notice was sort of given by Shredlock, or sort of.
I believe a decent amount of time. Yeah, I don't think it was.
That's a big bite of grenade. Teru has to back away from that one, and the Titans can't really get aggressive yet. You see Lynx is trying to work that left-hand side and actually pressure the point properly. And they're waiting on the coalescence, so they get that. They take a lot of poke damage in order to do so, but they'll be able to move on to the point, just take it like that. The Gladiators just have to bend and accept that they don't want to fight this coalescence, but Shu has a nano boost here and he sends it straight to Muse.
And I thought Space was going to go down and contest the point. That'll be Linkster who takes out Bird Ring as Muse with the Primal Rage getting back towards the point. This should be flipped back in the Gladiators' favor rather quickly. Just a little bit of percentage here earned by the Vancouver Titans. The biggest part there for the Glads is they didn't have to burn that grab here. So you're going to have grab this next fight. Grab, Deadeye. Not the classic of combos, but still something you could use here. Try and get value from Bird Ring's ult.
I'm still going to make it tough for Chungsik to get close, whichever way you slice it. I mean, there you go.
From such a distance.
I guess I would if I was him, just for that extra bit of safety and also getting decent sight lines on Teru because he's going to be coming in. Deadeye immediately. Defensive Deadeye as we maybe expected to see. Friedwinner gets desuited and Bird Ring is playing ultra safe from the high ground position, but Scoot gets taken down by Linkser, who finds yet another. With a sound barrier of fire, the Titans are here and they're ready to brawl.
It's no opportunity for a grab from Space. As, I tell you what, the Titans have looked better than I almost expected a series kind of like what we just saw. And I think if you're a Gladiator fan, that's kind of what you would want to see, right? This team hit their stride, assert their kind of dominance over a team that, the Titans kind of find themselves obviously 0-4, like near the bottom of the ranks in NA. But the Titans have put up a really good fight thus far.
Lynx are pressured, duplicated D.Va from Kevster, the self-destruct is also there. Rolf's taken down, both teams have lost their main healers, but having Lynx out of the mix here means that now the Titans don't really benefit from that sort of longer fight. In fact, they really are going to struggle in these next few moments. Deadeye from Bird Ring gets Teru, good cleanup as Fire is also found, and the Gladiators are back in control as the percentage was approaching even.
So now for the Gladiators, Rally, they still have this grab. Maybe you're just trying to get FRD demech'd and then use it, but you've had it for, 3-4 fights now. You probably would have gotten another one by now.
Especially
we'll see how they decide to use it, yeah.
Especially Teru duplicating a D.Va, I guess maybe you don't feel... Oh no, he duplicated Chungsik actually, so that wasn't even an extra deterrent from using that ultimate from space. At some point, there has to be a grab. Ideally this next fight, just to end the round. Shu's close to a nano boost here as well. The timing is so fortuitous for the Gladiators right now, and that's a darn good biotic grenade. Perfect target as well. Get rid of the D.Va mech, and so you can find an easier Graviton Surge. It's fired off here by Space, and there's the Death Blossom. Linkser, but we can't stave away the Gladiators even with that ultimate. Friedwinner out of the mech, and will be removed. It's going to be a duplicator Winston with Primal, and a sound barrier provided by Fire. Rolf's also here with a Coalescence. Wonder maybe there's a world where you can layer those support ultimates less here, and the Titans, even with all that extra durability, that survivability, they can't stay alive in this round.
So Gladiators will take our first point. It's one thing to watch for the remainder of the series is the compositions these two teams play. A lot of what we saw in that first week kind of looked like it was tending towards more double shield. This week, especially in the last series, we saw a lot of Winston. I know even some, like a reset D.Va at times. See if these two teams kind of break that mold as well and want to play more Winston-based kind of compositions.
Yeah, that was our conclusion coming out of last week. I think Custer said it best. He said, look, I think the reality is that you have to play double shield right now. In fairness, we saw the abilities of double shield teams like Houston and Atlanta showcased a lot last week. But in the APAC region, Matt, this is the comp. In fact, sometimes you're seeing Arna Mercy with the double dive tanks in many cases. So this is what Chongyu's doing, this is what Philly's doing. A lot of the teams just want to play with mobility, even, without sort of Tracer and Sombra in the mix here. A little harder to shut down the Winston without Sombra, I guess. And Wrecking Ball also stronger for that reason. The Gladiators here still have Bird Ring on the McCree, so defensive options still with that good mid-range hit scan pressure.
And the Titans kind of put themselves in by that health pack and haven't been able to get out yet. This time they go straight to the high ground. This is a rough position because what do you get out of your Moira there? The Moira obviously can't access that. Yeah. The Moira just stuck on the low ground. They're still looking like they're trying to make this work though, as they've gotten Linkser in position to take out Bird Ring. Nobody in control of the point just yet. Looks like the Titans, though, they have the player advantage. They might be able to get there.
I love that from Linkzr, who's been quietly overachieving so far in this map. He links up perfectly with Chunksik on the high ground after getting rid of Teru solo, essentially on the low ground. So good start for the Titans. Linkzr just has to avoid Birdring's flash and Skewed, just stunning him up constantly. But look at the support ultimates here built up by the Gladiators. They have both. And again, Muse and a Nano Boost is always a bad combo if you're the Titans. And we'll see Birdring as a safe angle. No one looking at him right now. In a good position here just to get free unanswered damage. The Flashbang fan combo. Death Blossom here for Linkzr. He realizes there's no flash available, but it doesn't matter. The uncontested Reaper ultimate finds absolutely nothing because of that defense matrix, Matt.
Yeah, so you end up losing the first fight for the Gladiators, but you end up building up both of those support ultimates, which end up coming out on top. Now you've built up the Primal Rage with the use of the Nano. You have Kevster with a duplicate. We'll see what the Titans try and do with this sound barrier. The sound barrier coming in here for fire. Could engage with that. We've seen them do that, and other teams do that quite often, especially when the aggression could come in quick with the Primal Rage and the duplicate.
Teru will be looking. Double Winston. Yeah. Double trouble. Monkey magic. Okay, so Body Grenade hits Chunksik early in the fight there, but it doesn't really seem to bother him. This is a bad place to be if you're the Los Angeles Gladiators right now. Good work by Skewed to create some spacing, but has to give up his life in order to do so. And Matt, that fight really only goes one way once you see the target of the duplication by Teru.
Yeah, I mean, once he gets the duplicate onto the Winston, you have Chunksik up there on the high ground. You're able to cause a lot of trouble, as this is going to be sound barrier here, and this is just Kevster in space, but because of that kill that goes down, you feel like you need to use that ultimate to sustain. They try and use a speed boost behind it, and they can't get any kills. This should be good for the Gladiators.
This has to be coalescence now as well from the Titans. They don't really get what they were looking for with the sound barrier, so they're forced to use two of their support ultimates in very short space of one another, and may still not win the fight. Linkzr there just gets put in the cone of silence by Space's defense matrix, and now Space is freed up to clean up the fight. I really think right now, based on how we've seen teams play this meta map, that D.Va defense matrix is so important, not only to shut down Reaper, but also to facilitate your own.
And that call by the Titans to use the support ultimates there, I actually think that's the right call. You lose Teru, which is such a large source of damage, and you know that it's Kevster in space there with nobody else. They use the sound barrier, keep everybody topped up, push through those players, take them out, and then you still have that man advantage and you still have the point. The issue is Space and Kevster do such a great job reading it and get out of the way.
D.Va duplicated for Kevster, in he goes.
A huge biotic grenade here.
Yeah, absolutely ruined. Fire won't be able to stay alive to that one at all. And there you see the problem for Linkzr. Okay, Death Blossom. There's two D.Vas. How many? That's like, how many seconds? That's 8 seconds of defense matrix, I think. 6, maybe. There's no way you're getting anything done. And you're in the middle of the enemy formation with your ultimate being shut down. What is...
All right, we're fighting this.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. I mean, that is a duplicate there. Deadeye used to just prevent them from coming out. So, I mean, and that's a huge ultimate there that you end up using.
Birdring gets singled out here. Yeah, Muse went to point, but probably needs to peel back for his backline, and it's a pretty good timing here for Skewed to go for a rally. Birdring had to get given a nano boost there, and I'm convinced it was just for the defensive aspect of it. He was getting pressured very, very heavily, and the Titans flip back the point somehow, despite being in a play at a disadvantage, so that's one way of delaying what may well be the inevitable here. Is that the Gladiators are back in control, and Lynx is down. Sound barrier is used here, but Fire's put to sleep right after. This is a disaster situation for Vancouver.
Oh yeah, and Chunksik gets hit with a big purple as another biotic grenade comes in from Shu. As Linkzr had to go back and take the point. There was nobody else there for the Titans. And the Gladiators just have to not fight him first, take out some players over by the health pack, then wrap back towards the point. Linkzr will get one with a Widow at the end, but not enough, as it'll be the Gladiators who take map number 1.
If Vancouver want a W or breadsticks, they're probably not going about it in the best way right now. A tough start for them, despite the fact they bring the Echo in. Teru, who really is quite powerful on that role. They get a double Winston duplication. They duplicate a D.Va at times. But it's the Gladiators who look like they're a bit more comfortable and even get away with playing Zarya in that first round. These two teams want to play Winston-based compositions. It's definitely going to be exciting. Let's see if the Titans can make their take on the meta work in map 2 in just a moment.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest and fastest 5G network. Set your sights on the competition with T-Mobile. And by Xfinity, the preferred internet provider of the Overwatch League. The Overwatch League is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official refreshment of the Overwatch League, and by IBM, the official cloud and AI partner of the Overwatch League.
Treadlock now into the back line and gets with the both support.
Up over the top, gets a double.
And here's a coalescence from the high ground for Rolf, and wow, the timing on that one looks so good.
Really.
And fire gets two! That is crazy! Time and a great stick from Dal. That's three from him!
That's crazy, they make it work.
That's right, the newest addition to the list for the Vancouver Titans is none other than Changshik, who maybe for newer fans is not a super known name, but one of the most successful teams in North American contenders was definitely Fusion University, and this gentleman was at the helm back in 2019, and obviously prior to that, Kongdu Panthera, so that's 2018. That's quite a while. Changshik getting the recall here to replace Shredlock, of course, who has announced his retirement. And look, Matt, you kind of put it out. You said, I mean, it's pretty daring to play dive with a player that may not have been practicing with the team for so long, but in general, he looks pretty darn good. I don't know if we go too much further than serviceable at this stage because it's very early days, but the Titans had some bite in them in that map of videos.
Yeah, I didn't think the Titans looked that bad on Ilios, to be quite honest. I thought their performance was pretty good considering what kind of team we view the Gladiators as. And we can jump right back into game. It'll be Junkertown for map number 2. This one gives the Titans a little bit more of a chance, right? You can play Linkzr on the Widowmaker, allow him to try and take these duels with Birdring.
And again, we saw Junkertown already earlier on today, where the Dallas Fuel definitely had a different take on the meta, one that suited them quite comfortably. We are going to see Vancouver's Titans start on defense, and we'll know what kind of composition they're trying to play. This would be interesting indeed. Soldier 76, Reaper. We have Orisa with D.Va, which is not so crazy, I guess, if if Fried maybe wants to have that extra mobility that maybe you don't get. Also trying to control the right-hand side where Teru's just teleported to. It's really important to have some extra off-angle presence there as defenders. But the legs, Matt. Talk to me about the legs.
So this could be, because remember when we saw in the previous match with the Dallas Fuel in London, where they had the Widowmaker and you played from such a far distance that you were able to get dove on pretty quickly.
Yeah.
With the legs, you can play a little bit closer. You're more mobile than, let's say, a McCree. More consistent damage, but they're going to play really close to the door here. So no Moth coming in here for the Gladiators, so just point that out. So you're still playing the Brig. This time, no Ana. You're going to be playing the Baptiste.
Everyone has such a slightly different look. It's so interesting so far to see how this June Joust meta looks. Linkzr can always run back to Junksik, by the way, if he feels threatened. The legs are good for that, oddly enough. But yeah, we'll see the Titans playing pretty close to start with here. Space just trying to puzzle a way out of this, just to try and unravel this setup. And with Rolf going down, that'll do it. That's the pick they're looking for.
Yeah, that's a lot of the healing. That's what kind of gives you the ability to sustain on the cart. Once you lose the Moira, you have to back out, no matter all the damage that's going on in the back. Let's see if they commit to this yet again. Do you keep playing the Soldier? Is it something you just wanted at the start of the game? Potentially try and get close to the spawn door. So, at least from what it looks like now, Linkzr will come out again here on the 76.
Yep, again, if the concern's trying to get back in position quickly. By the way, obviously Lucio Moira here still for the Titans, like you mentioned, so very different support setup to what the Gladiators have so far. But Birdring, by the way, is like number 2 in Dynamite kills last stage, or in the main melee, should I say, so he's pretty accurate when it comes to those. Gonna force Linkzr out of line of sight. Linkzr can't do anything in his position, by the way. This negates Soldier 76's presence completely.
And he also gets outranged here. Like, consistent damage from the Soldier is nice, but at far distances, you're going to lose to this Ashe every single time. So Linkzr will switch. Going to play the Hanzo. Interesting, he doesn't want to play like an Ashe of his own, even trying to play the Widow. So 2 heroes Linkzr's very strong at. His Hanzo's good as well, but the Hanzo really kind of values like the shield break here. Maybe you're able to break the shield, get the... You're still playing the Lucio with the Moira, even with the Orisa, so maybe you're just trying to get the Orisa and the Reaper like behind Muse's shield, put some pressure on the supports.
FRD always chewing, playing in the front here. Linkzr gets picked off. I mean, he switches to Hanzo here, hoping to make use of the verticality on this second part of the map, but Kevster just runs him down. It's a tough job for Linkzr right now, who doesn't seem to have found a DPS hero in this match that he's really comfortable on. Kevster's forced back for a time, but the Titans keep losing players right at the start. First it was their Moira, second it was their Hanzo, and being able to play at a disadvantage this whole map really hasn't helped.
Yeah, and they still run, after the sound barrier here, you'll still have the Lucio Moira composition. If you're going to play the Reaper, you kind of need it, unless you're going to play like Dive, right, with the Winston and the D.Va, but doesn't seem what the Titans want to do here on Junkertown. So the Gladiators will have Rally here. Kevster will have this duplicate. You're probably going to get an Amp Matrix as well. That's a supercharger that comes out here from Changsik. Kick things off. Oh, Teru thought he was being sneaky there. They saw him right away.
Yeah, homie ain't slick. They know he was there the whole time. There's a rally in play and a Brigitte looking to get the bash on. Changsik goes down to the self-destruct here, and that's a big problem. No tanks here for Vancouver. And to point 2, they'll say, thanks for the memories.
All right, so now they switch and they'll play the Winston. I like this composition much better with the Winston with the Lucio and the Moira, just like synergizes better. You don't really like. We talked about this the other last week. I think we casted a team that we saw run the Orisa with the Moira and the Lucio, and it felt so out of whack that they tried to run it here. It doesn't really work. This will be a dragon from Linkzr. That's like from the spawn, so just trying to split players off, which they're able to do, but Bob creates enough space that they're able to keep the card going.
Kevster wants to try and get a perch up here, and space is going to help him just for a moment. Constantly looking towards Muse, just making sure that the Orisa is okay, and that defense matrix just a little bit too late. Linkzr comes alive now. Storm Arrows have found 2 kills already. Great way to end a fight before it really begins. Teru may have fallen, this could still turn around. Wolf's gone down, and it's all gone wrong. The Gladiators, they're ready to receive this push from the Titans. Oh, Linkzr just says, what more do I have to do?
Supercharged down, and then the Brig just swinging on through. That is a dangerous combination. Skewed builds up another rally here. So rally, you have the self-destruct to buy some space. I believe Teru's up on the high ground behind them, trying to set up for the big Death Blossom.
Okay, Chunksic goes in, and the Gladiators are able to disengage, despite lacking a Lucio pretty easily here. Muse soaks up most of Wolf's Coalescence damage, and the Titans look no better than they started. They still at least have a sound barrier, so those support ultimates could go a long way. But how does this self-destruct work? Okay, it gets Birdring here. He's pressured, and there's nowhere to run, especially with Chunksic that's all over him. And Teru's able to find a Death Blossom here on the carpet, goes down to the self-destruct. This is messy stuff from both sides. But the point is that Skewed is able to sit here on the cart, and a focusing beam means that there's no tanks again. And the Gladiators add an extra one to their ranks with a duplicate from Kevster on a D.Va, and he's already built up that self-destruct. He could have 2 if he wants. Yeah, Fire taken down, desperate stalling there, that's all he can really do. And that's a force back. That's the Gladiators getting across the line with, frankly, a decent amount of time to work with.
Not as good as the Dallas Fuel, but still really strong. As the Brig really pays off when the Titans are trying to dive in. The Supercharger with the Brig just swinging there with the Muse. Skewed was able to really keep them going for a while. Just the amount of Inspire healing plus just damage from Brig, being able to build up those rallies pretty quick, ended up being a lot for the Titans to deal with. The Titans always, like, they kind of seemed in the middle of 2 compositions, right? They weren't exactly trying to play slow, but they couldn't exactly speed things up in the fashion that you would like them to see. I thought they were getting better effects with the speed boosts and whatnot when they actually had the Winston in the mix than the Orisa. So let's see what they decide to play here on offense. Potentially you can bring the Widowmaker in. We'll take a look at a replay here. This is from Skewed's POVs. This is what I was talking about. This looks like I believe this is when Linkzr got the double.
Yeah.
And then the Supercharger goes down here, and just, I mean, look at this. I mean, that's 50% roll charge in just that small span.
There's no rally, there's no nano boost either, you know? It's just he's actually shield dancing Muse's barrier really effectively, and he gets the bash straight away on Teru's Reaper, who, I mean, that's really the main hero that's supposed to thrive for the Titans in that situation. That's the issue we're dealing with Brig as well. The Titans are playing Lucio Moira, so they don't really have a great answer to shut down someone getting into their backline like the Gladiators do with this comp. It's a very safe setup for Los Angeles again here.
Well, now the Titans commit to this double shield, so they won't play the Lucio, they won't play the D.Va, Orisa Sigma, Batiste with the Brig. And this is really about letting your Widowmaker trying to take over the game. Linkzr against Birdring. This is like a classic Season 1 throwback.
Absolutely.
Widowmaker matchup.
It's like a Houston-London game.
Yeah.
Birdring spots Linkzr there. I mean, these two, in fairness, were considered to be top of their class during their heydays. Mostly around Season 1, to be fair, for both of them. And we'll see what Birdring does here. Again, he's very, very safe. Obviously, the Gladiators wants to really only take fights where Birdring has purview. The Titans made a mistake when they were defending of having Linkzr up on the high ground, but then fighting inside this room for no apparent reason and really nullifying the presence of the Soldier Mat.
And the Titans are working for an angle here on the side. Like, they're trying to get FRD here, trying to get a shield up in the way, and they make it around the corner. They're able to deal with space. But the rest of the fight that goes down on the card, they're not coming out on top of.
No supports either. Birdring, dominant stuff. And the pickoffs were really quite crucial. Yes, you lose space, But you saw just how many cooldowns were being thrown at Space just to get that one Sigma pick off. You're still dealing with a fully stacked backline and Birdring in a safe spot. Not a great start for Vancouver here. Linksa definitely needs to open things up, and Teru, something tells me, Matt, it's a bit too much of a goal for him to cross, and he has to play against a Brig here as a Genji with no Ana support.
Yeah, I mean, he was on the cart trying to play with the tanks, which is all well and good. The issue is they have a Brig on the other side. That's a huge pick-off, though. Skewed off on his own on the side. That's a big pick-off from Linksa.
Shu has to use a Regenerative Burst immediately because Teru comes to pay him a visit. Gets rid of that drone as well. And there it is. Perfect pick-off, finding one of those supports and starting the fight in a comfortable way. Teru actually starts to get to play more aggressive in Skewed's absence. Now at least you know the win condition for Vancouver. It really does revolve around Linksa starting the fight well.
I mean, that's another pick from Linksa. The last fight gets skewed. This time with the pick on the Birdring, this might solidify them even getting the card across the line, as Gladiators will look like they were potentially trying to set up to get a touch. As soon as you lose your Widowmaker, everybody stalls out for a quick second. So, ooh, Muse takes out Linksa there. As that potentially could have been a halt off to the side as he was trying to get an angle.
So how does Teru get good blade value against Batiste Immortality Field, which, I mean, is annoying, and the Brigitte?
Well, I think it's more of what's going to happen with this Gravitic Flux. Like, does he come in and you just kind of use the Gravitic Flux on top of him when he tries to dive? We've seen a lot.
Oh, no! Muse. The other end of the pincer collides with the Titans from behind. They're not ready for it. The Gladiators take initiative here. Oh, the blade! You're out of your mind, Teru. Three from Teru. Immortality Field making 4. No! Nano boost and 5 kills for Teru. Are you kidding? He gets them all inside the small room, but that fight should have been lost. That should have been dead to rights. Teru with 6.
We gotta get a replay of that. Well, to pop the blade in that type of scenario, I mean, that is in the situation that he is in. Let's take a look at this. So you're already down your break. You are now down your Batiste. So they're down 4 players here, and he just turns it single-handedly. The blade inside that small corridor is just wild.
I mean, the Gladiators are shell-shocked, so are we. I'm still reeling. Muse steps up now, and he has the widescreen HD TV to bet some damage boost here. And Lynx has gone down. Yeah, I mean, their backline is looking awfully sore, and the Titans, I mean, the Gladiators are just completely rocked by that previous play. I don't blame them. They're one of the most insane Genji plays I've ever seen. No nano boost, no backup. There's an Immortality Field in play as well.
Oh man, what it's like shades of Immortals agilities, right, on Gibraltar in the server room. That one was a crazy blade. That's up there. That's a wild play there from Teru that has given the Titans a real chance on this map to set even a better time than the Gladiators did.
Absolutely unhinged. Linksa takes a sidebar, picks up the Mega. Infrasight now active for the Widowmaker of the Titans. Gravitic Flux will catch, by the looks of things, Rolfin, yeah. He doesn't have any chance to make use of the Immortality Field he deployed to the ground. It's a nasty spot to get caught. Space, though, blown up. Linksa finds the headshot. The accretion was also there to ensure the kill. And Kevster copies, I mean, this is classic Kevster. He'll have a blade as well. Free blade, don't mind if I do. Linksa thinks twice about firing and still is subject to the sharp edge of Kevster's sword.
They'll get Teru on the way out, so you have to play quite aggressive, quite close here. If you're the Gladiators, you don't want to give, you want to have them invest this blade that Teru's going to have before like the end of the map, right? You don't want to allow him to get another one or get another one fast. Take these fights close. The payload's still moving backwards. You're able to get him to use the blade here early. You know, let's say you win the fight, amazing. Even if you lose it, you're still going to give yourself a really good chance to get a defensive hold.
2:15 on the clock here. The Titans have fallen behind in Time Bank. And yes, the possibility of a defensive hold is definitely there because that Ant Matrix does very little except give the Titans position here on this turbine, and that's a cheeky accretion. Rolf's not in position to really give any healing right now, but Shu has gone down. So it's a longer term to go without your Batiste if you're the Gladiators. Excuse me. Birdring gets this random headshot on Teru, forces him back for just a moment, and is able to get away alive. Linksa falls.
Yeah, Linkzr is really low, and Kevster goes over the top, right above him, and takes him out with the focusing beam. You burned a minute off the clock here if you're the Gladiators. So we Gravitic Flux here, and you're gonna maybe get Bird Ring. Yeah, you do.
Yeah, but only one kill for the Flux, and you've lost Rolf. Muse is out to pick that kill up, but here's the Blade again. Teru's going to skirt around the edges of that Immortality field deftly, but still runs headlong into Muse, who may as well be a golden brick wall at this stage. Pridewinner's going to be able to find a kill with the accretion, but that's it for the Titans here, Matt.
Well, we'd have to get a replay of this. I actually believe, like, Muse is actually fighting fire on the point. Doesn't really have any line of sight on Teru. And at least from the top map, it looks like fire actually whip shots Muse back right into Teru and just ends up killing him. Crazy play there. So, with a headshot there on a Linkzr is... No, Linkzr was getting the better of Bird Ring, really, for a lot of this portion of the map. Is Teru, yeah, you're not going to get out alive there. But Bird Ring's really come alive here the last few fights.
Immortality field deployed early. Teru, once more, playing aggressively here. Gravitic Flux looks like it was cancelled from space where he didn't get the value he was looking for, but Rolf and Fire are very low. Kevster, double kill with the Blade as he duplicates again. And now it's the Gladiators getting value from a Genji when they don't even have one on their roster. Kevster looking mighty fine on this Echo, and we're in the dying seconds now. The Titans have to make something happen.
Yep, Changsa going over to the